This is the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? All right, here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
Howdy, Monday. How's everybody doing? Hi, Joyce. Joyce checking in. Joyce continuing to heal there. Boy, I like what I'm seeing there from Joyce. A MLK Jr. holiday edition of the Revved Up Sports Show. Bobby Chaffee is down south. I'm up north. 7:15, we're going to talk to Joey Heineman, the acrobat. I know Jason Batt we call the acrobat, but Joey Heineman did his best impression of that. But, Robert, how's everything going today, man? Day off? Were you productive? I did. I fixed that gutter that I showed you last week. I fixed it. I fixed it myself. I didn't call so it's half-assed, but it's manageable.
I mean, I didn't do a whole lot today. I got up earlier than what I intended to get up early, and when I say earlier, I got up at like 8:45 this morning. But took a load to the storage unit to get some stuff out of the garage. So that, I guess, if that's the most productive thing I've done today, then I guess that is the most productive thing I've done today. But hey, it was a holiday. I didn't have to work all that hard today.
Yeah. That's a good thing. And hopefully everyone, if you had today off, that you got something done. And, I've seen a lot of MLK stuff today. And my only, obviously we celebrate that and not celebrate, but recognize. But I'll just say, I heard somebody say earlier, quote less, emulate more. And we'll just leave it at that. But busy weekend of motorsports, man. They were getting after it all over the place, weren't they?
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff happening. The Supercross race was good there for the first time in Houston. Got another big race coming up for them on Tuesday night.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Chili Bowl had to run through the alphabet soup. But I will say the one thing about the Chili Bowl, boy, even your diehard dirt racers were really upset that it took over an hour to get that track prep ready for that A main. There was a lot of hardcore dirt people that were really, really upset that it was taking that long.
Yeah, it felt like an asphalt thing. I saw a lot of people complaining. So I was like, man, look at this. So I guess it happens there too. And I got to say that was a little extreme. That did kind of take forever, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it took forever, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, the track stayed together. It was not the best of Chili Bowls that I thought. The tough break there for Christopher Bell, popping the berm and flipping over like he did. But I have seen much better. I've seen much better Chili Bowls in the past. Nothing necessarily technically against this one, but I have seen some in the past that have been considerably a little bit better. So
yeah, it was good stuff. Possibly the story. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But we have to a couple of Revved Up Sports Show birthdays we got to talk about. Bobby, we missed this the other day on Saturday with all of the mess that we were dealing with at the radio station trying to get that one on the air. We missed the birthday of probably the greatest of them all.
AJ, it was Jeff Andretti that got...
Well, yeah, he's all over the goddamn track. You don't know where the hell he's going.
And it was suspension problem that...
Yeah, kept from knocking him through the goddamn wall. I'm tired of this shit. Got people out there that shouldn't even be in the goddamn race car.
Well, you talk about emotion.
I love this Monday show because we can play that without the bleeps.
That's right.
AJ Foyt, my goodness, happy birthday to Super Tex. That right there, that's the real deal.
Yeah, one of the greatest of all time, if not one of the greatest, if the greatest on open wheel surfaces. So definitely one of the best representations of Texas all around. Him and Carroll Shelby were both really good representations of how Texas racers had the mentality back in the day. And I mean, even AJ still to this day still shows that mentality. He obviously has his race shop there outside of Hockley.
Yep.
There, it's right down the street from the Buc-ee's. That much I do know.
Yep.
When you go through there in the middle of the night, taking Texas 6 back.
Yeah,
is it 6 or 290 that goes past AJ's place?
I think it's 290. Yeah, right there on 290 is where you see that. But man, I tell you, it's just you go back on all the memories of watching AJ, and man, the dude, he won. I mean, he won in everything. I mean, the guy won in everything, and just what a career, and the tenacity right there of the racer. I mean, that's Tony Stewart right there all over again. And I guess that's what people say we need these days is we need guys like that. But AJ didn't take no shit. That's for sure.
No, definitely. He didn't back down from no one and didn't take any shit from any single person. So he was one of a kind.
Yeah, absolutely. Way ahead of his time. Way ahead of his time. But back to the Chili Bowl right there. A good race. I mean, all throughout the week, you saw a lot. What the flip count end up? I was watching that Saturday.
65, 66, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they were definitely they were flipping them a bunch, and it just goes to show, and here's part of what I'm thinking with all of the outcry that we saw with the track prep and all of that, is this thing gets to mainstream, and all of this. Had this happen without it being on MAV TV, hey, a shout out to MAV TV and Speed 51, I'm assuming, because for them to do that, I mean, I watched it on the Facebook thing for free. I just sat there and squinted at my phone all night long watching that. So, I mean, shout out to them for doing that. That's how you go out and get exposure. I mean, that's what they were trying to do, apparently.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. Obviously, there's a rebrand there, and the former Lucas Oil Racing TV is now going to be rebranded as MAV TV Plus. And so they've been able to, that's part of the reason they were giving away the free coverage for the Chili Bowl. Although a lot of people were really upset about that, because if you pay extra to have the MAV TV coverage on your provider, then you're paying extra for it. And they were giving that stuff away for free. So say what you will about it, but they were definitely trying to get more people signed up for the MAV TV Plus. And
there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people that were watching it on the Facebook feed. But I think that probably the best story. I mean, the story that I enjoyed the most throughout the from what I saw, the alphabet soup and everything that we were watching on Saturday. Jason McDougal. I mean, that dude jumped out, and for him to do what he did, and he's in fine company there now with JJ Yaley. And I've got some sound here. This is courtesy of Matt Weaver, and this was McDougal after that unfortunate accident, which we can break down after we listen to Jason.
I mean, it's crazy to think that we just tied it for the Chili Bowl history statement, but I really think we got a car that could have been the thing, and just didn't work out.
What that last lap? Obviously, you're on the bubble. Are you expecting something from behind? Are you expecting somebody to take that shot at that point?
I mean, not like that. I was running the bottom and in the 3 and 4 of the corners before, and.
In my opinion, that's kind of a crazy question. I mean, that's the obvious question, but
yeah.
I mean, what's he going to say? I mean, that's kind of goes without saying. You expect that, don't you?
Well, I mean, I think obviously you're going to expect it. I mean, that's the world we live in, especially at the Chili Bowl, with as cutthroat as that is to try to get into the next position. So
yeah.
They talk about dirt racing, not getting into each other and some of that stuff, but boy, they sure do get into it for them.
Yeah.
Them final transfer spots at the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, I saw somebody compare it to the snowball. Here's more.
I mean, it just is what it is.
What do you think? What do you think you showed today? There's been so much social media clamor already. I know you've been trying to find a full-time ride. It seems like the last couple of years. Did you prove that you deserve to be back out in a full-time capacity today?
I really enjoy what I do and where I'm at in life, and TT's taking me in. I've gotten to see racing from a different perspective. And,
Gets a little tough to hear him right there at the end, but yeah, I mean, I think he absolutely proves that he deserves another opportunity. And you want to hear something really crazy, Bobby? As I had reached out to Jason McDougal Saturday night to see if he wanted to come on the show, and about 5 minutes after we fired off on the show, I get a message back and said, "I'm sure we can put something together." Damn. Damn it all. We'll work on that. We'll work on that another time. But Kyle Larson goes wire to wire there, 55 laps, and I guess Christopher Bell, that really was the story of that there, as he flips, gets up into the cushion and goes over in there. And boy, he didn't mess around. If you're going to flip it, that's the way you do it.
Yeah, if you're going to flip it right. As far as how many times he flipped, I think he was silhouetted about 3 or 4 times over there before landing. He got out of the car pretty quick, but it just seemed just like another day for him. And it, like I said, it was lackluster compared to the last couple of Chili Bowls. So I was surprised to see a lot of people still enjoyed it, which I guess it wasn't a bad race. You just didn't have some of that battling for the lead there towards the end.
I think a lot of what we're watching with this race is they've been doing it for 33 years, whatever it's been, and 35, I don't know. But what we're seeing now is this becoming more mainstream now, we're starting to see those growing pains. Now we're starting to see, I mean, the snowball, it happened to the snowball. It's happened to the All-American 400. It's happened to all of these big races to where they really get into this different environment. And they really become exposed, and they become so susceptible to criticism, and any racetrack promoter is gonna totally agree with this, where whatever you do is gonna get questioned and psychoanalyzed in every different way, and there's always gonna be somebody pissed off. And I think the Chili Bowl, and I mean, I applaud Bob Dillner and those folks, because I was getting text messages saying, if you were in this delay, what would you be doing? I said the same damn thing they're doing. I would just be talking. That's all you can do. That is all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the running joke on the internet was that, the reason they kept saying is that Bob Dillner was contractually obligated to talk about how many more times the A-main's coming up, the A-main's coming up, the A-main's coming up. I think he did it 7 times. So not sure how many times he was actually, contractually obligated to talk about that. But I think they filled the time the best they could. I mean, at some point you have to have fill time. You have to have built-in different stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, it just happens that way. I mean, obviously, I thought that the highlight was the extended interview they had with Chase Elliott, talking about how Chase Elliott, his first foray into the Chili Bowl and midget racing and stuff. So I thought that they filled a good solid 15 minutes right there with Chase Elliott. So that was probably one of the insightful interviews. At least you knew what lingo he was talking about, because he didn't have all the slide jobs and all that other lingo in that some of these other racers have. But he definitely was able to put one in the tank and have a pretty good, he was disappointed by only making it to the F main. But I think, like he said, if he can come back next year and try to practice a little bit more, he's going to shoot, to get higher than the F.
And I think there were a couple of times there I heard Bob say, coming up, we promise, we promise the start of the Chili Bowl. So yeah, tough stuff there. But yeah, the Chase Elliott stuff was really good, because you did see, you saw a humbled young man right there, but at the same time, what they say, that was his second event that he's tried to compete in one of these cars, and for that dude to get in there, and what did he make it to, what was he, the J, the K, what was it?
I think it was the F main.
The F, yeah. And, I know for a lot of folks, and I saw folks saying on there, well, the F, well, hell, that ain't no good. That ain't worth the shit. And I'm like, come on, cut the guy some slack. I mean, the guy's a pavement guy. And that's where the dude ate humble pie on national TV. And I guarantee you one thing. Now he'll be a man on a mission. Now he's going to be a man on the mission. He's had a taste of it, and he knows what it takes. And I guarantee you he's going to figure out a way to get back.
No, he definitely is. And, that was his second ever midget race. The first one was his race where he ran at Millbridge Speedway probably about 6 weeks ago. It was right before Christmas time came through. And he ran that with a bunch of the other NASCAR guys, Chase Briscoe and some of the other guys that were racing there at the Chili Bowl. So he ran that race with them. They were trying to help him out, get his stuff up to speed. So
sure,
definitely was an all around good run. I was proud to be a NASCAR fan with the way that he represented the sport, both at not only the sport, but just the upper echelon of the series with the NASCAR Cup Series. I was proud of the way he handled himself at the Derby. Had the same kind of feeling, didn't run all that great in qualifying, came back and smoked their ass in the last chance, and then drove all the way from 31st to 3rd with 4 cautions.
Right. Yeah. Did a really good job.
He's done a hell of a job in the last couple of exhibition races, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's doing this because he loves the sport. I mean, cut the dude some slack. I mean, he just won the most prestigious racing championship in North America, and he's going out and going to see us in Pensacola and making his way to Tulsa. I love it. Freestyle Monday, and what I meant by that was because we actually didn't have a guest lined up, but there were several people that said, we got to talk to Heineman. So I reached out to Joey. I said, do you even want to relive that? And he said, yeah, it'd be good. So we'll talk to him at 7:15. I love what Cheyenne says right there. And this is on the Facebook feed. Remember, RevvedUpSportsShow.tv. You can catch a video feed, of course, right here on Facebook. RevvedUpSportsShow.com. You can catch all the feeds there. Audio on top, or what is it? Video on top, audio on the bottom. I don't know exactly how it's configured. Kyle Larson never gives up. That signifies an awesome example to other people, especially kids, to keep chugging along until you reach your intention. And I think that is very fitting. That is very fitting today, with MLK and all of that. Is you just keep hammering along. And Kyle Larson, he admitted his fault, and there he is again. He's won this thing twice in a row, and he did it in really nice fashion on Saturday night.
Yeah, he's definitely a little bit more humble this time when he won versus when he won last year. But I also think that after the multiple tries that he's had of trying to win the Golden Driller,
Yep.
the excitement of last year really took over. And he's like he was saying, "Sorry, NASCAR, this is the biggest win of my career." And so that kind of was a foreshadow of things to come. You just didn't know what that was going to be, and I think that the one thing you can say about Kyle Larson is he's still getting a lot of flack there in the Cup Series because he haven't announced a main sponsor.
Nope.
And so it does look as though, Rick Hendrick's going to pay for that out of his back pocket for a while. But you let Kyle Larson get up there and start running top fives, top tens. They've been contending for a couple of wins there in that Hendrick equipment. He'll be okay. It's basically the same team that Jimmy Johnson ran
Sure.
with as the 48 car. So that all they did with the 48 cars, they just changed paint jobs and wraps on all of Alex Bowman's cars over there with Greg Ives and the crew.
I like that 48. I like that purple. That's a pretty good looking race car. The other birthday, we talked about AJ Foyt and also Houston area driver, the great Ronnie Chumley, and that is a guy. That's a senior that we need to get on this show. I bet we could get Ronnie Chumley on here. We've had David Starr on here, and just the way that he talks about Ronnie Chumley, and you hear the Houston racing stories. I think Ronnie Chumley, if we got him on this program, we'd probably have to go a couple hours because I think he would just go.
And the fans would just eat it up too. That's the one thing about it. Ronnie's been a fixture of the racing action for Houston for years, and he's got some good stories, and other people got good stories on him. So you get a combination of both of those together. That could be a night of entertainment.
Yes, indeed. Somebody put us in touch with Ronnie Chumley. We need to get him on here. We're looking for another legend show, and I think that would be really good. I saw something. Let me do this right here because this is fitting. Had planned to talk about, had actually hoped to talk to the folks from Showtime Speedway because I thought we were going to be talking about Speedfest, and I wasn't getting a warm reception from them, and I thought, well, they're probably thinking, oh, that's Texas guys. I don't want to talk to them, but the news breaks today that apparently Speedfest will be no more. So Speedfest,
that makes sense.
Yeah, Speedfest falls by the wayside because of a lack of pro late models. Does that surprise you, BC?
A little bit, except for the fact that where Showtime's at, they're actually more super late models than pro late models. So that, in one aspect, I'm surprised that the pro guys didn't want to come. But you also figured there for Speedfest, right when the heart of Speedfest, that's a lot of super late models, and that's a lot of pro late models that are coming. And so I think because of the way that area does down there, you either have the Florida modified, or you got your super late models. So I think that the pro late model field wasn't there. So I think that's a lot of money to put up for both races to only have a limited turnout. Because you saw it even at New Smyrna with the red eye.
Yeah.
That the pro late models weren't as many as there could be. Also back for the Governor's Cup, the prelude to the Governor's Cup, the pro late models that Ryan Luza won, there probably wasn't. I think there was a dozen pro late models there. So they definitely are not as prominent in Florida as they are, at least down there in Central Florida, as they are up in the Panhandle and up into Georgia and the Carolinas.
Yeah. But that was followed up with there will still be a pro late model race, and it was they said 100 laps and $10,000 to win is what I saw, and I didn't hear anything from Showtime, so I've kind of been following this one all day, and apparently this is now going to be a 150 lap race for $15,000 to win. And it's been branded the Florida Fest 2021. So Showtime is still moving forward with this, and they're going to try to draw in supers. Nassi's already entered. Rich Bickle Jr., who is embarking on his final season, he's there. He's got 2 cars, I believe. I don't know if there's going to be any pros, but they're still planning on running, and that's a promoter putting his ass on the line right there. I mean that's hardcore. That is hardcore to try to do that.
Well, he's definitely. I guess that when you add in extra money, right? I guess they took the $5,000 to win that they were going to use for the pro late model race, and put that into the super late model purse. That unofficially, I'm assuming that that's probably what it was. It was probably $5,000 to win pro race, probably a $10,000 to win super race, and so they put some of that purse money for the pros into the super. So definitely sticking his neck out there, especially when you start calling it Florida Speed Fest 21.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. Just weeks before, you get the World Series going. Cheyenne says again, going to say something else that involves a cuss word. Cheyenne, you can cuss all you want on that typing thing. Just don't say the N word or the R word. Speaking of that, Gracie Trotter with a tremendous test in the ARCA series over at Daytona, and from what I gather, I think she was like second or third in the speed chart, and that's not even drafting. I mean, that's just solo. I mean, by herself, and I really think, Bobby, we've talked to Haley and we've talked to Gracie, and they're both just extremely talented. But I think Gracie Trotter, I think people really need to keep an eye on this young lady right now, because she is destined for really, really good things, man. She is ultra impressive.
Well, despite a lot of her racing, both the girls come from the West Coast, right? With the racing anyway, with Haley Deegan up in Southern California, and then you had Gracie running with Bill McAnally Racing last year. Both of them have the East Coast or the West Coast stuff. So sometimes the people from the West Coast just don't get enough publicity out east. And so now you're seeing, Gracie has slowly but surely started moving up the Toyota Racing development ladder. And let's not forget how important that ladder system is, because Toyota lost a really important piece of their development stuff when they lost Haley Deegan.
Yep.
And obviously there's a lot of stuff that they can cross over from Haley Deegan over to Gracie Trotter. And you're starting to see that just a little bit. You're going to see the part-time ride here with TRD. I think if something pops up in the truck series, you might see Gracie get a shot in the truck series, but I think that it goes for a partial series in 2021. I'm anticipating either another partial series in 2022 along with a couple of truck races. So the sky's the limit for Gracie right now, and that's what she talked about when she was back on the show.
Yeah,
she talked about everything that they had planned, and so that's what she had decided that she needed to be, with this staying involved with Toyota Racing and getting in the gym and everything else. So she's definitely got her head on straight, which is a good thing to have, especially when you're young and trying to work with these driver development programs.
Yeah, and she has a win. I mean, she won, a season ago. So I think she's definitely someone that's going to factor in there as we get to that Saturday race coming up in the ARCA 200, or whatever it's called now, the version of it now. I think that she's going to be, especially in the Venturini 25. I mean, if she's able to keep that car out of trouble and keep herself out of trouble, I mean, those Venturini cars are always so good on the super speedway, and I think that she has. I'm very impressed with her. Let's shift back over to Haley Deegan. You and I talked about this on Saturday, and I think that's a situation where you young folks that are going, and I think we get more of those young folks that consume this Monday show than we get on that Saturday show. The Saturday folks probably didn't understand what we were talking about, but this is where you have to be so aware of everything that's happening. I mean, Bobby, when you and I were growing up and we were attempting to drive or race or whatever it was, we didn't have all these eyes on us. And I mean, even local drivers, regional drivers, you can get in so much trouble. Not trouble, but you can totally train wreck your career by just slipping up and saying the wrong thing. You have to realize that you've got eyes and ears. I mean, Haley's going to have to do sensitivity training, but this is something that could hang over her for just a little bit.
It'll hang over for just a little bit. I don't think that it's going to hang over her as long as it's been hanging over Kyle Larson. That's definitely one of those things that I'm pretty sure about, that it won't hang on as much as it will for that. But of course, two different set of circumstances there, two different sets of words that were said, and so they. I think that she'll get over it faster than Kyle Larson will, obviously, because Kyle Larson was considerably more prominent than what Haley was at the same time that it happened to her. So I think, when an established Cup star does something to that magnitude, it definitely moves the needle more than when somebody that's just moving up in the ladder. Is it going to hurt her in the short term? Yeah. Is it going to hurt in the long term? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she'll and again for Haley, I mean, she can't let this. Obviously, she's expressed her remorse and so forth, but she's got business at hand. She's got to get ready to go. I mean, because she's in that truck, and she'll be at Daytona. I mean, it's time to go for her. So got to put that behind her and get set to go. Hey, we got to give some love. I'm sure you saw it, Bobby, and I think a lot of our Houston friends. Again, we talk about Ronnie Chumley and AJ Foyt and all these guys. Did you see Greg Davidson? I mean, our man right there, that dude, he's hanging in the studio up here. This is where we need camera too. But that dude right there, that is the story of perseverance. Hell, I can't do that. I can't do what he did. Wasn't that impressive? That dude's a badass.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do good to do one sit up right in the morning to get myself up out of bed, and here he is doing pull ups all the way to the chin. So never give up attitude for Greg. It's good to see that. it's good to see the fire in Greg. I mean, obviously, there for a while he was down on his luck and
Sure.
questioning a lot of stuff about his situation, but it was really good. It's really good to see Greg with the fire, whether it be fire up to get back into a race car or fired up just to do an extra set of pull-ups. That's just great to see when you see it from somebody that's just such a good dude like Greg Davidson.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Keep plugging there. Keep plugging there, GD. You know we're on your side, my man. 7:15. Joey Heineman. We're going to talk to him. I did tell him. I said we don't just have to talk about that wreck. I mean, the dude has accomplished a lot of stuff. But anyway, I know a lot of folks will be happy to hear his voice for one thing. Folks that saw that on RX. Bobby, what do you think? I saw Sonoya Speedway. I saw the Pollard family is taking Sonoya Speedway back over. They had that forever. They sell it to Charlie Edwards in 1981, and Sonny Pollard, Bubba's dad, expressed interest in that, and Edwards says yes, I will sell it to you. We saw a Bubba Pollard at the end of the year that obviously he wins. He does win the Governor's Cup, an emotional race right there, and then the snowball was just obviously not what we're expecting out of Bubba Pollard. Is Bubba Pollard's career shifting right now? I mean, yeah, he's still going to run the super lates. I'm assuming he's going to go back to running his own stuff. But where is Bubba Pollard right now, especially with his family going back to Sonoya Speedway back in their hometown?
I don't think it changes the focus. I mean, obviously he's a lot going on. I think if it was more, I think that's more of his dad's project. I think that's more of his dad's idea to run that Sonoya Speedway again. I didn't realize that it was in their backyard because that's where their house was. Because I guess Grandpa decided he wanted to open up the racetrack with some family land they had.
Sounds like Lawrence
Mikulacek. So it does make sense. Yeah,
like
it does make sense. It does make sense that the family wants to get back involved with it, that the Pollard family does. But I think that what it changes is his family not being directly around him at the racetrack, like his dad and maybe his mom and them. So I think that's changing. But as far as him right now, but best thing for Bubba Pollard to do is get into a super late model and put out all the noise and try to move on past the Snowball Derby, whether that's in his equipment or he tries to go back in the Van Dorn stuff again. Whatever the case may be, you'll see Bubba Pollard back in the super late model.
Won't be surprised if he ends up at this Florida Fest 2021. I mean, you know he's got stuff ready. So I think that, and I totally agree. I mean, I don't think that it's anything that's going to back him off. I mean, I think at some point, obviously, you bring him in, for a big show or something like that, because the guy can drive on dirt as well. So but it's definitely, and again, that's where we talk so much about this sport, where it does seem to be where it's the usual families, it's the usual people. We see it here in Texas, with Marianne showed up at Cotton Bowl, and Gina in Houston, and Owen and Stevie Whitaker and Johnny Torres. I mean, where it's like these guys and ladies are the ones that just jump back in, and that's where I do wish that we could get other folks in. I mean, I want these folks in, but that's where it's like it's just us. It's just us, and that's where our sport, we kind of landlock ourselves, but it is what it is. I'm just glad we have it happening.
Yeah, I know, it'd be nice. I mean, just think if we could ever see Bubba Pollard run a super late model around the high banks of Houston Motorsports Park, that would be that'd be something really cool to see as far as Bubba Pollard being back into a late model. So, I think that his focus will be there. I think that, from a promoter's aspect, there's, Bubba Pollard moves the needle.
Sure.
You say what you want to, but he moves the needle. There's a lot of, there's a reason why they had to do 2 restocks of all the Bubba Pollard stuff down at the Snowball Derby.
Yep.
And that was all brand new stuff too, with the Van Dorn car on it. So the fact that he's been able to come through and move that needle for short track racing, the promoters are going to do everything they can to try to get him at their racetrack.
Yeah. There may have been delays at the Chili Bowl this weekend, but there were definitely no delays at South Texas Speedway. I was following along there, and again, Heineman's coming up, but there were delays and so forth, or delays at the Chili Bowl. But man, I was on Race Pass, and man, they were going. I mean, they were clicking those things off. Friday night, Triton Temple over Johnny Torres, Stephen Doty, Mickey Helms, and Cameron Starry in those factory stocks. Marcus Mikulacek in the Armandia 79. Man, good to see that old livery number 79 in Victory Lane. Didn't that look good? Man, Marcus driving a hell of a fast race car right there.
Yeah, I mean, you got a really fast race car with a really fast driver. Marcus not always known for some of the big shows. He doesn't always shows up to the big shows, but had that breakthrough moment But definitely this past weekend, that was Marcus's breakthrough moment to be, now one of the it guys when it comes to big shows down in South Texas.
Yeah, and that was, good race there. You got Tommy Davis Jr., Jared Maupin, Cody Beto, man. Cody Beto, 4th place. What the hell? And then Cody Leonard.
Especially with that busted up car that he had to bring his car back together after tearing it up at the last big race down there at the Whitaker Memorial.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeffrey Abbey and the stock cars. Man, the stock cars looked a little thin. I was surprised by that.
Well, they had mentioned that they needed to get a few more entries in for the stock cars before they'd be taken off the program. And it looked like they probably had way more pre-entries than they had cars actually show up, which is something we've seen before. You can have, 20 guys say they're going to show up, and we'll get lucky if you get 10 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Going over to Saturday, it's, Triton Temple wins again in the factory stocks. Dylan Gaither, Johnny Torres, Daniel Preston, and Alan Torres. Good top 5 right there. The limited modifieds, they kind of flip around a little bit. Jared Maupin at the top of the heap right there. Marcus Miklicek, Edward Oaks, Cody Leonard, and GW Hessong. So good weekend for Marcus. Second ain't bad. I wouldn't be pissed off running second to that 96.
I think the 96 ended up getting DQ'd later on that night. So I think Marcus ended up doubling up and winning both.
Nice.
The first one on the racetrack, and the second one in the tech shed.
Not nice for Jared, but didn't know that part. Did not know that part. Modifieds, William Gold, man. Hell, he wins them both. Ain't nothing wrong with sweeping both nights.
No, I mean, it looks like the track was pretty much the same both nights. A lot of people that had the success on Friday night were the same people that had the success on Saturday. So that'd be one of those where they, the track prep's always usually on point down there at South Texas as it is anyway on any given night. But you throw in a couple of extra shows with this bash at the beach, and I think that the prep was there. And you saw the same heavy hitters, all with top 5s were almost identical between night 1 and night 2.
Yeah, and I was as I was watching the Chili Bowl and Supercross and that lackluster football game, I kept going back and forth and going back over to Race Monitor, and then I'm checking back for South Texas, and I mean it was early, and it was done. So congratulations to those folks to get that pulled off, because I saw South Texas early in the week when they had to move the dates. I mean, crying out loud, this race had to get pushed out, which I think probably helped. I mean, it's easier to pull a Friday, Saturday off, I think, sometimes, with grandstands and so forth. But, man, that place, that was a lake. Stevie and them, they don't mess around there. They just get it done.
Yeah, that's the best thing about it. They ended up having, if you saw the pictures from Thursday, or actually the first part of the week on Tuesday, rather, that place was tore up, and it was tore up pretty good. It was a lot of water in there. And so the crew did a good job. I think that's why the track prep was so important, that they ended up getting it done as good as they could with what they had to work with all the rain and stuff they had at the beginning of the week.
Mm-hmm. Did exceptional job. So we'll talk to Joey Heineman here in just a little bit, and we can elaborate more on that. I saw that Cotton Bowl Speedway on February the 20th, they were doing a test and tune. They're turning that into a car show, which I wonder that actually puts, if you care about that kind of stuff, that puts a lot of pressure on folks to make your shit look good a little bit earlier than expected. You can't go out there bondoed up and primered up for that one. They're going to do their awards and their test and tune for all of that. So a little bit of an early start there, so that'll be good. But of course, a week before that, you got the Big Chill Enduro 250 the Saturday before the Daytona 500 over at Heart of Texas, and that enduro, that's a full size enduro at Heart of Texas. I think that'll be a good one.
Yeah, no, that they always put on really good enduros at Heart of Texas, and so this one should be no different. Nice to see the support that it's already gotten, and it's really, when we say support for Heart of Texas, there's always that diehard support for Heart of Texas.
Yeah.
The racers always support it, and the grandstands are always full, and so I think that it would be, I think that it's going to be a successful show just based on that. And when you see a lot of the enduros being as successful as they are, will it be as successful as the Lone Star 600? Probably not. They won't have near as many out-of-state entries, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of in-state guys that are going to want to try to win that one up at Heart of Texas.
Now, and Heart of Texas, I mean, they just, I mean, that's one of those tracks where so many people that I talk to around the country. I was talking the other day where I was saying when NASCAR was first making their with TMS, a lot of folks back in those days, I would say, yeah, I'm going to a NASCAR race. And they said, well, is that the one right there past Waco? And I'm like, well, actually, it's a little bit further north. But Heart of Texas is one where I talk to people all around the country, and they're like, man, Heart of Texas Speedway, I mean, what a gym right there. And this is year 55 that's coming up with that place. And go look at their website, guys. If you want to and track, I mean, I know websites aren't cheap and websites are hard to build. Trust me, I know they're hard to build. But go look at that website right there, because they've got everything you need. But go look at the fan information. Go look. There's a track map. Go look at all of this stuff that's on there. That is that's one reason they prosper, because that's the billboard nowadays is a website, and that thing is kick ass.
Yeah, no, it's a very advanced website for a racetrack. They've got all their news on there. They keep their points up to date, their rules up to date on it, and obviously, you know, some of the different scheduling stuff that they had with the COVID for last year for 2020. But they got a lot of really good information on the Heart of Texas Speedway website.
Hey, good stuff on the feed right there. I mean, South Texas was so dead set on getting this bash by the beach done. Yeah, the helicopter drying, that was something else right there. That's a whole different. That's setting the bar a little bit high. So you Texas race promoters, no pressure, but next time that you get a little bit of a rainstorm, I hope you can go talk to Olson Helicopters LLC, and they can get over there and dry your shit off.
Think about knowing Owen. Owen probably tried to get two of them out there to try to dry it and race at the same time. So that's that'd be the next thing, helicopter racing, as they try to dry out the racetrack.
Oh my God, that's a scary thought, Bobby. That's a scary thought, to try to get two helicopters up there and get them chasing around those little places. That could get interesting. I saw the I-37 banquet apparently has been postponed, and again, guys, I mean, like Bobby was saying earlier, there was a little bit of warning here that the stock car thing was going to be low at STS. I think but before you guys start beating up the racetrack about not having a banquet, they have been telling you, hey, tapping you on the shoulder, hey, anybody interested here? Snooze, you lose. That one's not going to happen.
Yeah, that one didn't come as a total shock. Obviously, they had a little bit more detail about it with one of the key players over there getting COVID.
Right.
But that was, I don't think that was the underlying cause of having the banquet postponed. I think it was just the lack of people wanting to be in a room all together at one time during COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But I like what Cotton Bowl's doing. I mean, that's another way to do it, and that's a pretty genius thing to do. So that'll be for them on February 20th. But before we talk to Joey Heineman, because he's coming up in about 3 minutes, Bobby, Betty White's 99. Do you see that?
She's going to outlive us all.
99 years old. And she gets around pretty good, and she's sharp as a tack. And, man, I'm not even that sharp, and I don't move that well at the age that I'm at. And I'm not quite 99, but that's something to be said right there for Miss Betty White.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's a one of a kind character, and we're still lucky enough to have her. And every birthday she has, every year, it's got another one of those Facebook memes that says, "I outlived you again."
Mm-hmm. Betty White reference on the Revved Up Sports Show, and you thought you'd heard it all. You thought you had heard it all. Nashville Fairgrounds also with their schedule coming out, and I think the Fairgrounds they seem to be 64 season coming up, and they're going to run a little bit of everything. And I think that sky's the limit right now with the Fairgrounds. I think hopefully if they can get all the political stuff shaken out, it sounds like the Fairgrounds in Nashville and Austin, I correlate very much that they are alike in so many different ways. And it sounds like with what the Fairgrounds has been dealing with there, that yes, it is very much like Austin. But I think if the Fairgrounds can get their footing and make everything work the way that they need it to work, I think big time racing may actually make its way back to that historic venue, which I hope it does.
And I think so. I think it's got a chance to be as successful as it once was. I mean, the problem with Nashville's so up and down. I mean, remember, what was it, probably 20 years ago, maybe even longer than that, when Nashville had almost all their weekly races sitting there on TNT in the afternoon, where they had all your late models and your trucks, your super trucks and all of that, had that stuff sitting there. So that would definitely be one that they were able to come through and have a successful show, and then it dropped to the wayside. Now it looks like they're back on the upside. That was an aggressive schedule they put out for the 2021 season. So I'll be looking forward to seeing how much of that aggressive schedule they actually get to have.
And I really like that they're going out on a limb, because obviously they're going to have the Indy cars will be there for the what is it, Music City Grand Prix weekend or whatever they're calling that event. But they are going to I mean, they're coinciding. They're going to run events right there. So I think that's a pretty ballsy move right there, and I think that they will actually attract people over, because I think that will definitely work if they can correlate the history of the fairgrounds into this brand new race. I think that's something that could be pretty golden for them.
Yeah, I think they're making the best of the opportunity, right? I mean, obviously, is there an instantaneous crossover between IndyCar fans and short track racing fans? Maybe not so much, but what we're noticing is there's a lot more race fans themselves attending races that are unique to them now. We saw it here with Austin. There was a lot of general race fans that may not have been to a Formula One race, but they heard something about an IndyCar race and decided that they wanted to go to that race. And that's what made that race at COTA so successful, which is still surprising why it's not on the circuit this year. But that's a whole nother discussion for another show about why the Indy cars aren't running at COTA.
Yeah, that's yeah, absolutely. I remember back. I think what was it, second year that CTS thing was going, when Formula One was making its way in, and track operator Tim came to me and he said, "Can you write me something in Spanish to try to get some of the Spanish folks over, that are going to be in for the Formula One thing?" And we wrote up this thing and called it, I forget what we called it, but we got a lot of them. We got a lot of them that showed up, and we were like, we wanted to see what this was. So yeah, it can work.
No, it can. Just got to have the right places in the right spots, and sometimes it works. And usually, if it works successfully. Sometimes, if it fails spectacularly. But a lot of times, it works more than it. Yeah. It works more than it hurt. Or works better than it fails. So
yeah, absolutely. I think Nashville's on the upswing, and I think they're going to do just fine. But it's time to go to the Revved Up Sports Show hotline. We talked about the bash at the beach, and folks were seriously just blowing the socials up and messages and so forth today. They're like, please, let's talk to Joey Heineman. So I reached out late in the day, and on the hotline it is Joey. Joey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, y'all.
Man, we're doing well. I think the main question for you is how much Advil or booze or what have you had to do after that, dude? That man, we said earlier, if you're gonna do it right.
Well, I definitely drank a few beers. Don't tell my old lady that, but I definitely drank quite a few. I just been on Advil and some stuff like that, but I was pretty sore that night.
Wow.
So, Joey, the rumor was that was a brand new car. So, obviously, you were happy that it was well built. But talk about that car. Was it indeed a brand new car that just got totaled?
Well, it wasn't a brand new car. I won that car in a raffle from Kenneth Montgomery.
Oh, shit.
And the biggest thing that I've been talking to people about is that was a 1 3/4 roll cage, the 4-post was. And these 1.5 inches concerned me, and I was thinking to myself, what would an 1.5 inch roll cage do in that situation? And I'm just glad it was 1 3/4 inches.
Sheesh. Yeah, no doubt about it. So, I mean, you've done this a long time. I mean, you've done it for years. Is that the worst one, or have there been worse?
Well, San Antonio days, we in San Antonio late models, we wrecked, every once in a while, and they hurt.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm not 25 anymore, so I think this one was the worst.
Yeah, no doubt.
But so I'm going to tell you this too.
Yeah.
The containment seats. This is the first containment seat I ever bought that I put in this car. And I think that's a big deal because even though we ran good Butler seats that were $600 back then, I think if we would have had that type of seat in this incident, I probably would have been hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would definitely recommend one of them to anybody that don't believe in them or whatever, that don't like them because I can't turn my head. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
So, Joey, let's go back and talk about the good old days, right? I mean, I remember back as a kid when you were running late models, had an old Monte Carlo, you were racing with the San Antonio late models, and I even did a couple of those old TIDA Romco starts in different kind of late models. Let's talk about how you got so far. Actually, we're not trying to call you old. We just know you've been racing a hell of a long time.
Well, what's bad is I was pretty young when I got to do that stuff, so I get classified as an old guy. I don't think I'm that old. We ran a full frame Monte Carlo here at the Speedway during a TIDA deal one time, and I qualified like 9th or so and ran 5th until Kenny Neal and I went in the wall.
Oh, man.
But we went San Antonio late model racing after that and ran up there for several years. And we had a little success. We won quite a few races and had fun. That's one thing I'd like to talk about is I got to race with all them San Antonio guys and a lot of them TIDA guys that nobody got to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at Irvin, Beaver, Audie Howe, all that San Antonio bunch that raced forever, Donnie Harelka.
Yep.
Donnie Harelka and I became really good friends and got to go fishing and hunting and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that was due to me racing San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. We ran a few TIDA races with my San Antonio late model, and we did okay. We made the show and ran all right, different class of car, but I'm glad I did because I got to race with Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
Slick, all that bunch, you know.
Yeah, no doubt.
I guess later on we ran Romco races, and finally had a car that could compete with them, and we won a couple races and got to battle with Chris Davison and ran with Greg, and all that was pretty neat. I'm glad I got to do all that. And I was fortunate to be put in cars to where I could.
Yeah. And indeed, Joey, you're one of those guys where watching you all those years, when I say your name, I want to try to say it like Russ Martin, because that's when I say Joey Heineman, I want to say it Joey Heineman like Russ Martin did. But quickly back to that San Antonio late model thing. Back then, once they finally got everything figured out about the time there in the 90s when you were running with those guys over there, they finally got all the shit in order there and figured out how to make that work. That's what asphalt needs right now. That was a really, really good set of rules and a good class.
Yeah, we went by that red book.
Yep.
And there was no getting around it.
Yep.
And I mean, actually, the only time I ever got caught cheating was because of that red book. But anyway, it was good, and a lot of cars showed up, and we were competitive, you know, and with everybody. I mean, so anybody could win anytime.
Yeah, that's right.
Got to race with old man Bindley. You know, he was fast all the time with Joe.
Yeah,
and we didn't get along with half of them, and shoot, now Joe and I sat and talked the other day in the trailer Friday night for a long time, you know, so it's great, man. I wouldn't have changed any of that for nothing.
Yeah. Well, you never know with Joe, man. I swear for years Joe hated me, and hell, all along he liked me. So I mean, Joe's one of those dudes, and I'm glad he's still a part of this.
Yeah, I don't think we hated each other, but we raced hard against each other. We wrecked a few times, you know, and that's just that part of it, you know. I do want to give a little shout out on my wreck deal. The reason I went San Antonio late model racing was Greg Carlucci Jr.
Uh-oh.
He was the first one there after my wreck. Well, I say the first one. There was one other guy there before, but Greg came down there and checked me out, make sure I was okay. He's a paramedic now. But we fought like cats and dogs back in the early 90s, and we wind up leaving CC Speedway to go race San Antonio because of Greg, so we could end all that mess. So it's pretty neat that we can end up now where we're at and him come checking on me.
That's
I
awesome,
appreciate it.
That's great. That is great.
So Joey, we love the track at South Texas Speedway, right? We love what Stevie and the gang down there are doing, but how sad is it when you know that potentially the future of CC Speedway is done? and everything that everybody's hearing means the racetrack's not going to be there. I mean, you ran there for a long time. And that's a special place to a lot of people, but it's just sad the way that track has ended up, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know it's a tough deal. I mean, my dad was racing out there in the 70s. I was there when I was 5 years old, you know, and asphalt racing is just a hard situation.
Yeah.
I hate to see it. I look at it to the standpoint that I won't go spend no money to go race asphalt racing no more.
Yeah, no doubt.
But here in Corpus, that dirt track's the thing going right now, and I can't knock Stevie at all. He's doing a great job out there from what I've seen, and I think it's going to move forward and get better.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Joey, what is it with Corpus? I mean, I've got so many friends down there. You guys, I mean, it's like there's times where I wish I was either raised in Corpus or Houston, because that's where all my racing friends are nowadays, it seems like. But I mean, Corpus had CC Speedway. There was always some sort of dirt track, and I mean, they could run, simultaneously. And over here, all these other cities, hell, we were lucky to have one at some time. What is it about Corpus Christi? You guys, man, you got it in your blood. Is that something in the damn sea over there, or what? I mean, that is a racing town.
It is a racing town, and there's a lot of good racers that came out of this town, and good dirt racers, good asphalt racers. I got 2 trophies right here that I was looking at that belonged to Rick Rapp from Cudahy Speedway.
Oh, nice.
And Cudahy was a dirt track that was probably a mile away from South Texas.
Wow.
And, that track I was young, but I vaguely remember it. And then the Speedway, there was just, man, in the 90s, like 89 and 90, when I ran my stocker, when I first started racing, you couldn't find a seat in that place to sit down in the stands. But I go back to the fact that there was bowling and there was racing in town, and that was it.
That's it. Yeah.
So everything was so popular, and we had a bunch of racers, and we could do dirt track and asphalt racing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, Joey, let's talk about the people that you watched growing up. You said that you had a lot of fun racing with Slick and John Kelly and Greg Davidson and all that. Other than maybe your dad, who was your biggest influences racing in that South Texas area as you were coming up through the ranks?
Well, I only got to race a few races with them guys because they were at that peak and TIDA was at their peak. I got snuck in there on 1 or 2 races, whatever. But my biggest influence was Rick. Rick Rapp mentored me when we went to San Antonio, and I had helped him a little bit when he was still running. I used to cut his grass when I was 10 years old.
Oh, my God.
So he was definitely a big mentor of mine. And, of course, my dad ran hobby cars back in 77 and 78, won championships. And, he was definitely, I learned most of my mechanical skills from him. And, there's other people. I've been around Ricky Sennard that helps Bruce Beto. Ricky Sennard helped me on my late model. I have a gentleman that's a good friend of mine named Tommy Heinsohn and his boys.
Yeah.
He was a big influence on when I ran TAMS, that Norel series.
Yeah.
He won us that championship that year because he kept me focused, kept me in line on what to do, and taught me to keep better notes,
Yeah.
So there's been a few, but it's been good. I've been fortunate. And then Johnny White, he just passed away here recently. That's who I drove for in Romco. Yeah. And that was neat. I learned a lot from Johnny, and we learned a lot what not to do too. But that's how you do it.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So, Joey, isn't it cool? Because one of the things that I've noticed here the last couple of years, I've noticed that we've got, some of the names that you're mentioning there, and I see so many folks that had been involved in the sport that stepped away for whatever reason. Maybe it was health, financial, whatever it was. Maybe it was because asphalt was going away. We're getting a lot of people that are getting back into it, even if they just show up at the track. Isn't it neat to see a bunch of old friends again?
Oh yeah, it's neat to. I mean, I hadn't seen Tommy Grimes since we were racing Romco.
Huh.
And then I ran into him at the dirt track, I don't know, in like 2011, and then I'd seen him here and there and get to talk to him, and then Texas Tom was bringing Mac Mackin out to the races.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mackin's a neat guy, and I got to see him, so you get to see that kind of stuff. I was racing with my kid at Pleasanton a couple of years back, and Mac showed up a couple of races, then I got to see old man Horelka some more,
Yeah.
And it's neat seeing them old guys, as I say, because I'm not quite their age.
Right on. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's like I see those guys again, Joey, when they show up, and I was like, shit. The last time I saw them, they were old. Hell, they look better now.
Yeah, right. But I don't know. I've been fortunate to race in a bunch of races and have some success, in different classes and win a few races here and there.
Absolutely.
So, Joey, let's talk about factory stocks as a whole. Roddy and I just get amazed by A, how many of them there are that's out there, and B, just how many racers still have them and they're building them to this day. And then what is it about that class that's starting to take off? I mean, is it affordable, even though some say it's $22,000 for an entry-level class car, a brand new one? I mean, is it because they're running the asphalt pull-offs? I mean, what is it that makes these factory stocks so damn popular for these race car drivers to race?
Well, I think with the way the rules are, and your average guy that doesn't have a lot of money, that knows how to build a car or race, work on a car, can go be very competitive in that class. The tire deal, I don't know how it is at other tracks, but with the way Stevie's been prepping the track, I ran the same 4 tires for like 8 races.
Wow.
So and the last race that I ran on them, the 8th one, I won. So the tire deal is neat. They're $35 and, they're not $110, so if you cut one down, but it's very competitive. It is pretty wild. I don't know. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot. And I like it the fact of there's no weight jacks, there's no nothing. You can shove a spring in, don't worry about frame heights, and just keep jacking with it till you get it right,
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, Joey. I mean, I drove these cars forever. I mean, and I would, hell, I want one at this point. And I'm trying not to race, and I want one of these things. I mean, they're just so exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's like what we're used to doing. I mean, it is truly a stock class where you get out there, and I mean, I was amazed when I saw. I mean, you guys don't run headers. I mean, it really is. It's a street stock class in the modern day. Yeah.
And you get to run with guys that run bigger classes, and they come down and run them deals, and you're not just running against Joe Blow that nobody knows. You're running against people that they race hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you guys look at that? I mean, when you see guys, jumping out of the limited modifieds and mods, because I do see. I mean, it's like modified when the sport mods came about. When the modifieds were in their heyday. I mean, they're still really good, but when they were in their heyday and the sport mods came along, everybody kind of would start doing that. Do you see that as an opportunity? I want to kick their ass, or it's like I wish they'd kind of go back to what they are used to doing?
Oh, anytime I go to the racetrack, I want the best to be there. I want to go beat the best. I want to go race with the best. I don't want to cakewalk or whatever,
Yeah.
And shoot, you race with some of these young guns that are really quick, man, and you sit there like, well, they're looking over this way, like that,
Yeah.
That guy's been racing for 30 plus years, and we just smoked his butt, So
yeah.
It's a good way to look at it, back and forth, and
yeah.
I like it either way, whether it's got the best, the best people in it or the young kids. It's just a neat class.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So Joey, we thought we'd get a few more questions to ask you directly about the wreck and stuff like that. But it seems like the most popular topic we have on the Facebook message feed that goes along with it is they're talking about the poncho that you had when you started the night out. Tell us about that poncho. It seems like that's been that's totally been what everybody has been asking about.
Okay, so my niece, her birthday's on Halloween, okay? And I had 5 minutes to come up with a costume to go to her party. So the dog lost his blanket, is all I can say.
Oh, my
and then
brother.
Then it was left in my truck, and I'm going to tell you what, it's wool, and it's warm. So I don't care what anybody says I look like.
That's exactly right. I mean, you get on nights like that, and I mean, at the racetrack, when your ass is cold, you just want to be warm. I mean, you would wrap yourself. There were times, Joey, where I was so damn cold at a racetrack, I would almost wrap myself up in another man. So, I totally feel what you're saying.
Yeah, we went to the Snowball about 4 years ago, and I was walking around with about 8 blankets, even though the day before we were in shorts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No doubt about that.
But I can tell you all this, that wreck, I don't know. I wish somebody had a video of it because I don't know how many times I went over, but people say 5, some people said 8, but man, it happened very quick. I do remember seeing the dirt, seeing the sky, seeing the dirt, and thinking, when was it going to stop rolling? But all in all, I think everything worked out pretty good. My shins are cut up and bruised, I guess, for whatever was underneath the dash, and my elbow hit the roll bar, and it swelled up. But that's pretty much it. Other than I got bruises from the seat belts and stuff like that. But
yeah. And I totally feel what you're saying, because I remember when I was in the dwarf cars, when we had to go to full containment, and a full containment in that car almost takes up the whole cockpit. I mean, there were folks that were like, no, I don't want that shit. And, that definitely. I mean, you don't move. I mean, you're stuck in there. How long did that feel, from what you can remember, did that seem like it took about 2 hours to happen?
Well, I watched, John Witchy had a video of it, but it just shows me fixing to go in the air, the initial contact with the other car. And then it spans away, then it comes right back, and it's over. And I said, how could I have done 8 times or 5 times? I mean, it just doesn't seem possible. But I remember thinking, when was it going to stop?
Yeah.
Because it seemed like I kept hitting, and bad part about it, we talked about putting my GoPro in the car, and we didn't do it. But I know it seemed like it knocked the air out of me like 4 or 5 times. So I don't know how many times I went over. I wish somebody would seen it better, or I talked to different people, and they say 5 times, 6 times, who knows?
Yeah. I've heard up to 9 in the air. I mean, it's. I think a lot of the vaulting you did, a lot of it was like in the Olympics, like a gymnast. You were flipping in the air.
I know Gary Jennings called me and said that they had craters in the ground. They were having to pick the mud up and fill them back in because there was holes in the ground. So who knows? I don't know. Hopefully that don't ever happen again. It don't happen to nobody. And everybody needs to pay more attention to their safety stuff.
I heard that.
So, Joey, let's talk about, we talked about the wreck. Let's talk about some good times. Obviously, I got to know you back when I was helping Cody run the Tom series, and you got to be the champion of that deal. Did you ever think that when we'd go to Houston Motorsports Park that those limited modifieds would be as fast as they were compared to the big pro mods?
Yeah, I would think I had a feeling they would be. When we first went in Tam's cars up there, I had pretty good success right off the bat. I set the new track record there when we first went, which got beat the next time. But so I had a pretty good feel of that track when we went, and it felt the same. I mean, them cars ain't a whole lot of difference, especially when you can get on the gas on them cars versus the modifieds you couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, they were neat. I miss that place. I'd love to go race it again. But I don't know. I don't want to jump off the edge yet.
Hey, so funny that you bring that up. So let me get your thoughts, and I mean, especially after let's take the wreck out of this. But so there's been a lot of discussion about factory stocks on pavement, which it would have to be Houston in Texas. Your thoughts on that? Do you think that shit would work?
Running factory stock there? You broke up for a minute.
Yeah. Factory stocks at Houston at H&P. You think that'd be a good thing?
Oh shoot, it'd be an awesome thing.
Nice.
Especially if they kept them off sway bars and kept them on the same rules, and yeah, I think it'd be awesome.
Good. Needed to hear that. That's good stuff right there. What about sport mods? I mean, do you think that? I mean, I think that would totally work again. I mean, you guys. I mean, y'all were extremely fast, like Bobby was talking about. What a series that was.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun in that deal, and got to race with people that I've raced with before on that deal, so that was neat. Mm-hmm. Man, it's just going to have to take the dedication of asphalt racers that want to put a sport mod together. I don't know that any dirt racers would go do it. There might be a few, but I just don't know how big it would be if you did it.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
That's a tough deal in my thoughts.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Factory stocks would be a neat deal. I think they'd get a few to do that.
I think so too.
So Joey, talk about the next step for you. I mean, is this wreck going to be the end of it for you? Are you going to try to fix that car? There's a couple of questions about if the halo itself was down a little bit, like the cage stayed intact. But is this going to be the last ride for you? This little flip and bang that you got? Are you going to try to get another car back together? Are you going to what's the next step for you? Or is it too early to tell?
Well, I can tell you this: Eddie Valdez has been with me since '89. Me and him have been racing this stuff all the way through. And everybody that's ever seen me at the track has seen Eddie with me. Eddie knew the answer to that as soon as I got back to the trailer, because he walked up and said, "Give me $1." I said, "What do you need $1?" He said, "Just give me $1." And Eddie's got dang near a brand new car sitting over there at his shop. And he walked over there, and I handed him $1, and he said, "You just bought my car," and walked off.
Oh, my goodness. Damn.
So we'll make open tonight, I can tell you that.
Oh, my God. That is awesome. Joey, one more thing that I just thought about. So you've, like we've talked about, you've done pavement, you're doing dirt, you've done this for a little bit. To see South Texas and Edna and 37 trying to work together, Cotton Bowl, trying to work together, whether it's rules for street stocks and scheduling and all of that. Something now that's kind of neat, isn't it? To see that finally happening, to where again they're trying to do it, but it's hard to really do it. But at least they're making that effort.
No, I mean, hopefully this year they all have the same rules. Mm-hmm. And stay together, and I think they've been working at that, and that is a good deal. The only thing that I don't like about that is these younger kids go race 4 or 5 times a week when I can only do about one.
Right? Yeah.
they get a lot more seat time, so I got to catch up.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But no, it's neat that they're working together and doing that. Hopefully, it all works out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So that transition. I mean, you're a pavement guy. I mean, so much time on the asphalt, going over to dirt. I mean, I know what the few times that I tried to drive dirt, I really like to drive slick because it took me back to pavement somewhat. That transition, it's tougher than people think.
Well, you got to catch yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing that asphalt stuff.
Yep.
And not thinking that asphalt stuff, but I don't know. I ain't saying that I'm the best dirt car driver there is, but I've been lucky and won a few races, and I'm usually pretty competitive. This past week in both heat races, we tried some stuff because you don't learn unless you try, and everything we tried was wrong. We went right back to what we wanted, and we we were decent in the features. We just started so far back. We moved up quite a bit, but
Yeah.
you know, you get back there and get in situations where I went. No, I think it's how much fun you want to have, whether you're good at it or not. Go have fun, and if you have fun dirt racing, go do it. You know.
Yeah, no doubt. So one last question about that damn wreck, and then we'll bury it. We will bury it. So what happened? I mean, because I haven't seen it. I mean, and Witchy apologized on here. I'm sure Witchy probably saw what was happening, said, "Oh shit," and raised the camera or something like that. But so what exactly happened? I mean, I was too cheap to pay for to watch it, but walk it back for us. What exactly went down with that?
Well, on that one restart, they've made us go single file, and we took off. And coming out of 2, we had a lot of speed coming up, and there was a car that moved to the center of the track and started slowing down, and I'd already committed to go around him. And as I got there, he turned right. I don't know what happened there or what, but my left rear caught his right front.
Oof.
And I seen him coming, and as soon as, I mean, it was that quick, and it just lifted the ass end of the car up, and I saw the dirt coming and went, oh shit, you know. And I really don't know if he was trying to go off the pits, what you're not supposed to, or if something broke, but I don't know. It's probably a racing deal, and I can scream and yell about it maybe, but it ain't gonna do no good now. We're where we're at, and we'll just move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it happens, and you just keep going. And isn't it funny that we just forget about it, right? I mean, we just it happens, and you just strap in, and maybe if anything, you just tighten those belts maybe just a little bit tighter next time, and that's it. That's all you do.
Yeah, I ain't gonna say that I ain't ever caused a wreck, which I probably have, but you do, you do your best, and you try to drive with your head, and because you want nobody hurt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, Joey, man, thanks for the late notice and jumping on here and spending a whole lot of your Monday with us, man. Great conversation. You're one of those dudes that you've done it all. You've done it a long time, and you still keep kicking ass. And I know that this is just you'll be back in victory lane. This is nothing.
Oh yeah, we'll be good. We'll go have fun. That's what it's all about. I'm not so mad at it no more. So I go have fun and try to run up front, and we'll see what happens.
So when it was done, once you figured out everything was still there, because when you have a big wreck, it's like, okay, everything's still here. Were you more pissed off at the car being wrecked, or the car that slowed down and somewhat may have caused it? Which had you more pissed off?
Well, I'm gonna say that I wasn't pissed off. Honestly,
good.
I was more grateful that everything was all right, that I was just beat and bruised, because as many times, I tell you what, I called a friend of mine that was behind me in that race and asked him if he had his GoPro. And this guy that was behind me, I've raced with over the years since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that he pulled over and he said, "I'm done racing."
Oh, shit.
He goes, "I literally thought you were dead." And I said, "It was that violent?" He said, "It was the most violent, fast flipping thing I've ever seen in my life, you know?"
Damn.
So I listened to that, and I'm like, well, I am grateful for not getting hurt,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
The wreck is what it is. The car's tore up. Well, we can fix that.
Yeah.
I got kids to deal with still in my old age.
Ray Witherspoon checks in and says, "Don't let him fool you. He's still pretty mad at it." No, I mean, I get it, man. It's that really is the main thing, and the again, the safety thing. That's the main thing out of this, and I'm glad that you drove the point home. Guys that want to spend money on shocks and all this other stuff, great, spend it, but don't forget about that shit that's going to allow you to survive what you just went through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Super good stuff. Joey, thank you, man. And glad everything's good, dude. Keep taking that Advil and maybe a beer or two, and we'll do this again another time.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me on. I didn't realize it had to take me killing myself to do it, but almost killing myself. Anyway, I appreciate it, guys.
We can always do part 2, my man. We can always do part 2 and do some Corpus history. It'll be fun.
All right, man. Y'all take it easy.
All right, dude. Take care.
All right,
bye. There is Joey Heineman, and that I want to see the video of it, and I haven't seen it, and that picture credit right there, the one that you're looking at over on the left side, we've got to give that. That's Shane Turner. Shane Turner posted that, and as I was watching the Chili Bowl and the NFL and all this other stuff and Supercross that was going on that night, I saw that and I said, okay, have I drank that much, or is that car going off on 2 hooks with? I mean, the roof. I mean, you see the other picture on the other side, and that's courtesy of I think it's probably his Joey's wife's Facebook. Hey, the damn roof is flat. That's crazy.
I know. That's why a lot of people were asking about the halo, but I think the halo actually stayed intact on that, thanks to that being the 1 3/4 instead of the 1 1/2.
Man, that right there, I would love to. I mean, I really would like to see some sort of video of that, because that had to be, because from what I heard, I mean, he was vaulting in the air. I mean, several times. Think about it. I mean, that's 3,400 pounds, whatever it is, just flipping in the air. Just flipping in there. They said he was over the catch fence. And thank goodness, I mean, that the thing stayed. And that's where you go back and you look at that. You know, we talk about that Bobby Allison thing back in 1986, that you stay inside the track. I mean, thank goodness that he flipped it like he had something to do with it himself. That thank goodness it stayed within the confines of the racetrack. Man, that really sucked if that had happened. You know, if it had gone the other way, that'd have been horrific.
What was it, on the front stretch or the back stretch? We didn't even get to ask.
Yeah, we didn't even ask that. I think it was on the back stretch. Somebody,
he said something about going to the pits or something, so that would make me think it was on the back stretch.
Yeah, that would be over towards turn 3, and I mean even more with that. I mean, because the way that South Texas is set up, I mean, if this had happened and he'd have vaulted, you know, turn 3, you back straight away, he would have vaulted. I mean, there's cars there. I mean, that's the pit area, and it's at turn 3, perfect. So not perfect, but thank you. But this just goes back to the integrity of these cars, the way that they're built, and seriously, guys. I mean, and I was guilty of this a couple of different times when I was younger, where, you know, when they say that you need to replace your seat belts every X years, I mean, do it. And racetracks, by all means, racetracks. Get over there and make sure you're checking the date on those things. I'm not saying that tracks don't, but that's where you have to get in there and shoot, man. Don't skimp on the stuff that's going to save your life, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it should never be the track's job to double check your safety equipment. You need to be the one. Right. If you got enough money to race, then you got enough money. Then you need to pay for your safety equipment, because that is part of the funds that you're going to need to race. Right, if you can't afford the safety equipment, then you can't afford to have a race car.
And you know, it with the containment seats and all that thing. I know when they first, with the Hans device and everything that we had to wear, you know, all of that came about. And I mean, there may have been a time or two that I went out there and ran without it when we were supposed to have it, because same thing that he was saying, where you couldn't have. I mean, you obviously don't have that you can't look over to the side, and then you figure out all these other ways where, okay, you got to wear it because people are watching. You put it on, but maybe you leave this side a little bit loose so you can kind of look over there. Maybe I did that a time or two. But, you know, it just takes one wrong hit where you learn, and you use that shit for the way it's developed. I mean, because these are life-saving things. It doesn't matter if you're at the Cup level, IndyCar, Formula One, these local tracks. Joey Heineman, I mean, as we said, we haven't seen the wreck. We've seen the after pictures. We're lucky he's still with us after that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a violent impact. I mean, the firsthand accounts, everybody that was there said it was probably one of the most significant flips they've seen at South Texas Speedway, and that place has been around for a hot minute. But, you know, definitely, you know, and he seemed in good spirits. Obviously, he said he's got bruises from the seat belts and scratches from hitting the dash and stuff like that, and elbows all nice and bruised up. But I mean, all in all, I think that basically what that needs to do is reinforce. I have heard some people say that they didn't want to race their factory stocks on asphalt because of the fact that their center cage section was only 1.5 inches instead of 1 3/4 inches. So I think Patrick was talking about it on the Facebook feed there that, maybe they should mandate that the center section, at least of these cars, need to be at least 1 3/4 inches.
Yeah. And that's really, that's not any, whether it comes to asphalt or dirt or any of that. I mean, that's just a great safety thing. I mean, I remember back in the day, you used to run these unibody cars and the frames weren't tied. And it only took a couple of different really scary incidents where you wrap a Nova up and the subframes weren't tied up to where it's like, okay, we need to tie the subframes up. So again, I think this can be a learning experience, whether it's dirt or asphalt. And I think that's where people don't understand is when you're going, it doesn't matter. Some folks say, well, they're only going, 75 miles an hour. I'm like, hey, yeah, only stop that fast. Stop that fast. And that's when you realize that only don't count in this game because you're hauling ass.
Yeah, no, only is only for what it's meant to be. It's like as an afterthought, right? Oh, you're only going so fast. You're only doing this. When you're flipping, if you're doing 75 miles an hour. You're not only doing 75, you're doing 75 in the act of flipping down that back straightaway.
Yeah. When you have a wreck in a race car, I mean, there is no gradual. I mean, you may be able to gradually go to the infield to miss a wreck or something like that. You get the thing woed down and you can get down and try to avoid something. But when there is that impact, whether it be with another car or with the fence or whatever it may be, even something laying on the track, I mean, there is no gradual slowing down for something like what Joey just went through. I mean, it's boom. It's the inertia it stops, and that's where people don't get it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's the violent impact. It's not when he was up in the air, it probably wasn't hurting because it wasn't touching anything. He was just sitting there going, "Oh shit, this is fixing to hurt." And so then when you hit the ground and everything starts, but the car looks like it did every part of it was supposed to do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
The body started tearing apart a little bit to take away some of that energy they had rolling. And, the roof is caved in, but sometimes the top of the cage doesn't always go to the top of the roof anyway. So, it looked pretty bad. But yeah, Shane posted some of the pictures and it was like, damn, that was a violent impact.
Yeah. I think a lot of this goes back to, and final thought on this is I was surprised when Joey said that he won this in an auction or, one of the raffles or whatever they're doing these days, which seems to be very popular these days.
They are very popular these days.
Yeah. And this goes back to where if you buy something used or when we say a used race car, you buy somebody else's stuff, or you win it in an auction or whatever the thing is. I mean, go in there. I mean, don't just throw that thing out on the track, because I see so many guys that post pictures of cars or trucks or whatever it may be that they buy, and they find stuff that's done kind of half-ass. And I mean, when we get in there building these cars, I mean, there's things that you will overlook, and you certainly don't want to find out the wrong way. You certainly don't want to find out the wrong way in a wreck like Joey Heineman just went through, that something on your car was half-assed. So, guys, go in there and double check. I mean, miss a night to go in there and go through that car and make sure everything is right.
That's right. You don't get a second chance to double check your safety stuff.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah, absolutely. Great post, Patrick Kelly. Like they say, it's not the fall. It's not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden stop. That's the one. And that Dale Earnhardt, man. That you can go back to that, and so many of the folks that we have lost. It's been that sudden stop, because it is a jolt. It is a jolt. Thanks, Joey Heineman, for jumping in. That was it's a fascinating discussion right there. We have to do something, Bobby. We have to do something. Corpus Christi racing history type show. Man, I think
something
that'd be big. There's so many good ones over there.
Yeah, there's so many good talented people, and there's always that one person. Oh, I forgot about that guy. oh yeah, wait, that guy was damn good too, and so was this guy. And so, like they said, a lot of good ones came out of Corpus, and they still are coming out of there today. We've talked to some of the young guns that are down from there, and so we get to talk to some of the veterans and this experienced level ones, not the old ones, so to speak, but some of the more experienced gentlemen that we get to talk to. So they come out of the woodwork down there, and it's really fun. It makes for an easy show when you get to talk to so many people that have such a good history with that.
And we talk about Florida and everything that happens over there along the Gulf Coast and everything with maybe it's just something with those coastal cities with the racetracks and all that. I mean, because everything that we see in Florida and Corpus Christi, I mean, because seriously, they've been the ones. I mean, Austin had a track and San Antonio had a track, and I mean, Corpus was doing it, and they're still doing it, and they're packing the stands, packing the pits, and all of that. So, congratulations, Corpus. You are you're doing it right, still doing it right. Seems like.
Yeah, still doing it right after all these years, and nothing but success. Looks like it's going to be on tap for the rest of 2021. If the Bash at the Beach was any indication of how 2021 is going to be at South Texas Speedway, we're all going to be in for a treat with some of the racing action that's going to come up this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I did see a good post on there. Somebody posted talking about the Lone Star Stock Car Series. That's going to be something really good. A little bit of somewhat, kind of preseason racing that's going to be going on. So I know there's stops. I think there's an RPM stop. I know they're going to be at Hot. I know they're going to be at Cotton Bowl on an early week thing there. I think it's a Sunday at Waco, and then a Monday. Is it a Monday or Tuesday at Cotton Bowl? I think what they announce here. So that's going to be pretty fantastic right there. That'll have that will be interesting right there to see if that works well from the crowd standpoint, because I guarantee you the cars are going to show up.
Yeah, the cars will be there at that race at Cotton Bowl, but it's going to be interesting to see how the fans react to a midweek show, because it's not like it's just a hop, skip, and a jump. It's a hop, skip, and a jump out of Bastrop, but it's a pretty good jolt. You got a couple of hops and a couple of skips to get to there from Austin from just about anywhere. So hopefully the fans show up and support that show.
Yeah, and they should, because what you got the next week, I mean, you got the following week, you've got World of Outlaws. They're going to be there for 2 shows. So you got the 26th and the 27th. So that's going to be, I mean, Cotton Bowl folks, I mean, that's where you go out and you show that this is a hotbed for Texas dirt track racing, because you're going to have some really, really good stuff happening right there in just a matter of a few days.
Yeah, no, lots of good stuff happening on there. Looking forward to the stock car tour, and then looking forward to the World Outlaw race. And well, hopefully we get a chance to talk to some of the people involved in that before the race gets up here. And it's coming fast, right? We're only 26 days before the Daytona 500.
Hot and heavy. Daytona is on its way, and dirt track is blowing and going. Showtime Speedway's having a $15,000 to win 150 lap super late model race. That's going to be fun as well. Also. Great program. Thank you, Joey Heineman, for jumping on at the last minute. Chili Bowl recap. Really good Monday program. Bobby, back at it tomorrow, man. Enjoy your week, dude. Be safe.
Yeah, I'll do the best I can. See you Saturday.
Absolutely. We'll be at it once again on the Horn. That's hornfm.com. You can catch all of those Monday shows. For Bobby, I'm Rodney. Friends, be nice to someone. You never know what they're going through. You're going to feel better as well afterwards. MLK Day. Quote less. Emulate more. Be good. Let's all get along. It's going to be an interesting week. # real race talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Take care, friends.